Now from Atlanta News First Plus, this is Sports Tonight.
Welcome into Sports Tonight. Bailey Burmaster joined alongside Ellie Parker. We have quite a lineup and a lot to talk about, specifically in the NFL. Just a plethora of news yesterday. Everyone just kept dumping it on and on and on. The Hawks are also back in action tonight, another preseason game. Want to pick your brain about Zachary Ray-Solche because I think he might be the real deal. It's very early. He's going to have some growing pains, but I think we all like what we're seeing. Then we're going to talk about hockey because who else can we talk about hockey with? But let's talk about the Falcons prep for Sunday's game against the Seahawks. The Falcons defense has struggled to get pressure on quarterbacks, ranked dead last.
Just a little bit struggling.
Yeah, and Geno isn't a bad quarterback.
No, he's not. He's the first half of his career, he was like a journeyman that like wasn't that good. He goes to Seattle and absolutely balls out. Like this is not like a Hall of Famer level. But we're finally seeing something resembling the potential that he had at West Virginia way back in the day.
Which is crazy because I think he was at West Virginia, not to date myself.
I was
at Oklahoma State.
Wasn't he the quarterback during the 2007 brush with the national championship? Or was that?
And I'm trying
that later?
Who was the other quarterback too during Clint Trickett? Oh gosh, what is his name?
Because those were the rich rod at West Virginia.
Now we got to look
days.
it up because now it's going to bother me.
Now it's going to bother us. Okay. He was at West Virginia 2009 to 2012, so just after that brush with the national championship in 2007.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But no, he's really showed out. He's really become a piece for that Seahawks, which is nice because I feel like it was like low pressure, like a low pressure situation. They got rid of Russ. He was there. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Seahawks brings to the Bens for the mere fact that, they have lost 3 straight and the Falcons are riding high, leading the NFC South. I hope they can keep momentum going and win 4 straight for the Falcons. But
that's the hope.
We also know Atlanta has a bad habit of losing one they should not lose. And I hope this isn't that one. But it all remains to be seen. Out in Flowery Branch, the Falcons did hold practice. Raheem Morris talked, as well as a few of the defensive players. Let's tune into what they had to say this week.
Matt Hennessy was added to the roster. Where does he fit in that center guard rotation at?
So Matt was have been flexed up the last 3 weeks. Obviously you get the maximum of 3 flexes with the guy, then you got to make a decision. Dowman's still down as our starting center. Noozle's been out there working for us. Matt Hennessy's been put in that position to go out there and back up as a backup center. And you have to make that decision. We put him on a roster this week. We used that Michael Abernathy spot to put him up to get him ready to go in case we need him if anything would have happened. Quiet day. Josh, you got something.
How big or small are your adjustments when you're facing a team like a Seattle team you don't see very often versus a New Orleans or Tampa Bay, team you see all the time?
Well, I've kind of seen these guys a lot just being in their division. But, it's not the adjustments. It's more so having a new coordinator in Grubbs that's there, obviously from college, and some of the stuff that he's done with Michael Penix when they had a lot of success last year. So it's about what he's going to be and how much better he's going to get every single week. No different than like a Zach Robinson calling it for the first time in this league. It'd be the same thing with Grubbs calling for the first time. They got the growth mindset. You can continue to see they want to get better and better every single week. And the same thing on defense, having a new coordinator in Adam Durde. Obviously, we know a lot about Adam Durde, but being with Mike and the stuff they want to do on defense, as well as same thing on special teams with their coordinator, coming from Michigan, the Harbaugh background, having all those things, the development of those guys. So 3 new guys doing 3 different jobs. You're always going to have some type of development, some type of things you're going to have to make, some adjustments you're going to have to make in-game.
Drake is having a breakout year right now. What have you seen from him as far as the evolution from OTAs to training camp to now?
Like I said, when we met, he talked about wanting to take this leadership role in a serious type of demeanor, and he's done that right from the beginning. So right from OTA days, I can already feel the urgency and what he wanted to be. And his coach, Ike Hilliard, has done a great job with him, along with KJ and Chandler Witt, guys that are in that room and talking about how we want to detail the things that we want to do within our offense. So watching him evolve into an inside-outside player has been a lot of fun for us to just go out and do the process. And then, like, to even watch him within the installs right now, be able to contribute and be able to talk about what he did or his memorization of the game plans that we had before and what this is like has been fun. Really, for me personally, watching the physicality in the run game that he's absolutely grown into, which you saw from afar, but when you see it up close in person, when you're playing it, that's been something that's been really impressive to me.
What do you like about that physicality?
I mean, he's just a dog. When you send Drake in there to go get people, he goes and get them. And I was having a fun conversation with our staff the other day about, realistically, he's at the focal point of our run game about 90% of the time, for the most part, being a Z, motioning to it, inserting, doing some of the dirty work. But at the same time, he's at about 90% of our passing game, either 1 or 2 or at least 3 on just about most of our concepts. So you're talking about a guy that's getting a lot of high volume in both the run and the pass game, and he's going to be a busy young man a lot, right? So it's like, how do you get ways to maybe rest him at times or maybe get him out there a little bit more to do some different things? So it's like he's done a nice job. I'm really proud of him.
When you were in LA and he was obviously at USC, was he on your radar at all in college and then when he was in the league?
So funny, man. I do not like watching college football during the football season because I know I'm going to have to watch a bunch of it in the off season. And it's kind of nice to sit in your office and be shocked when everybody else is not. So I can't say I watch a whole lot of college football other than my buddies. So I will watch Texas this week. I will watch Penn State because of James Franklin. Obviously, I watch Georgia because I'm here in Georgia now, and like if you got to be a Bulldog fan being here, and the people on our staff with Nick Jones, some of those people. But definitely not a great college football fan. But I did know who Drake was, obviously because I was out there and got a chance to watch those guys locally, especially being on the time change and all that thing. They was always playing at night, so it was always fun to watch those guys.
After the Carolina win, you talked about Drake being, quote unquote, kind of like another offensive lineman. When you go back and you watch the film from that game, how much did that validate that?
It's been pretty much validated throughout our season. Watching him add on to the run game, be able to insert, do just different things at the point of attack. We got combinations with tackles. He's got combinations with tight ends. He's got a bunch of different things that he does. So, he's really done a nice job in our run game, and he still has more. He still strives for more. He still strives to be a better all-around player in every aspect of what we asked him to do. So I really fires you up.
Speaking of watching guys that you get a chance to watch, Ulbrich and Jets 99, did you?
You do. You turn it on, it's background noise. I got a chance to watch those guys.
Did you reach out to him? Did he reach out to you? I know he's been busy, kind of thrust into a new role. Did y'all talk any about it?
We spoke before the game. Obviously, we spoke early in that week. He called me on the way to the stadium. Just excited. Opportunity to go out there and put it on display and do some different things, some different roles. We talked about some of the things that I went through when I was here in Atlanta and doing it for the first time, or the first time as an interim. Right. Taking over mid-season and how you do things and how you got to go about it, and just being brutally honest. You guys can remember we were here together. I just kind of came out and spoke the truth, my version of it, at least, and tried to tell my staff that way, and we just did it that way. So it was really fun to go watch your guy go out there and orchestrate the whole deal and almost pull off a win.
Was there like one game day nugget that you told him, like, this is going to surprise you? Don't let this surprise you.
I don't know if it's a nugget. You just kind of speak from the heart and just from your own personal experience and what you're trying to do. It's like, I've been in that position as interim or as the head coach when you call in the defense and when you want to be able to click over to make sure you have people that can fill you in or doing what you need to get done when you're not doing it from the other perspective. So, you just can't expect people to do those things. You kind of want to tell them, what your expectations are and what you need from them when you're doing some of these other different things. So, just being able to communicate that really clearly is just something I just told them, just being able to think about it and take a second, take a deep breath, and be able to communicate that to the people that you need to communicate to.
Drake spoke in an interview yesterday. Said the biggest difference this year is playing more Z than he was.
Drake?
Drake, yeah.
Okay.
And playing an X last year. Is part of the reason for that to get him more involved in the run game where he can do some of those?
I think part of the original thought and the original reasons is giving him that Puka-like role that we had in L.A. Puka was a part of the Z, and then obviously those guys become interchangeable with some of the F position and some of those type of things. So, getting them inside, some of the things that you guys have mentioned before, having them on the outside, doing some of the Puka-type roles that we showed in L.A. that Zach Robinson is very familiar with, and some of the staff guys that came from there and all that type of stuff. So that was very intentional by our staff when we got here. That move was made pretty much right away. And then that just entails some of the things that we do in our run game. No different than, all those guys. Cooper Kupp has a lot of influence on the LA run game, so did Puka Nacua. And then obviously Drake has a lot of influence on our run game.
I've always understood those roles to be kind of guys that look more like Puka Nacua, just in terms of his kind of physical demeanor and his attributes that he has because of that. What makes Drake, at his kind of size and stature, so good at playing in that role?
I mean, Drake looks like a small forward, man, out there. So, like, he's a big man. And, like, when he plays and he gets down in those positions, like, he's not afraid or show any signs of timidness to go in there and get whoever he needs to get. So, like, I feel really good about doing that. Mohamed Sanu is very similar to that we had here in the past. We've had other guys that we were able to do different roles with that stuff. Julio was at the point of attack a lot, but from a different perspective on how we did with him. But the closest here probably Roddy White was probably the best at it. But Mohamed Sanu definitely was one of the guys that did it.
Did you have Drake watch Puka at all? Like, y'all make, check this out?
I think you naturally do that when you come in with some different plays and you kind of showing cut-ups of players, so they kind of watched a bunch of the Rams offense. Obviously, that's stuff that we put in from the Rams offense and things that we wanted to implement, that we wanted to carry over, along with the things that we wanted to add here and some of the things that we wanted to put in that they did really good here as well, because you still had people in the building that were able to talk about some of those things, like a TJ Yates and Dwayne Ledford and all those things. So, all that stuff was a part of it.
What does Nate Landman being back add to the defense?
Nate Landman gives us like a sound behind-the-ball linebacker that absolutely can use run fits and use his hands at a high level, shed blocks, come off, make plays. Last week I believe he forced 2 forced fumbles, always around the ball. Made a heck of a play in that big-time screenplay that we seen scored just about by everybody in the National Football League. I think Komet scored at 9:30 in the morning in the London game on that same play. And Nate was able to flash back, make a big-time play in the strike zone, and knock that ball out for us. So, like, you're just talking about a high-level ball thinker, high-level above-the-neck player that does a lot of really good things for us.
When he and Anderson are both healthy, do you have to, game plan differently among their, assets and their strengths?
No, I can't wait for him to get back. I like problems. Those are really good problems. We talked about in the beginning of the year, how do you play all 3 of those guys? And we kind of started doing some things and playing with packages and getting them in there in certain stops and making them really compete and get at a high level and be able to go out there and play. So, when he gets back, that fires us up. I mean, JD's thrown himself into the mix. So, the more things you can have for people, the more opportunities you can provide for your guys and your players, the harder the guys go, the better practice is, the more competitive the nature is. We got a competitive deal just in our own personal department that you work in. You guys write, everybody's writing over there. It's awesome. And then I can't wait to read you guys' articles. I don't read anything, I'm just joking.
I know college and NFL are obviously different, but with Michael Penix's familiarity with Grubb, you kind of ask him, what is he like, his tendencies, what it was like working with him?
Yeah, Allison, tell Grubb, man, we got Michael Penix in the room right now. We didn't let him out for 3 days. We got a light in his face shining on him, man, making us give us everything, man. We got every signal, so make sure he changed every single signal. No, I'm just kidding, man. Obviously, he talks about the stuff that he knows from when he played for the guy in college and some of the mentality and things of that nature. But, everybody in National Football Leagues question guys that played on different teams and be able to talk about those things, and having the guy that he coached last year and did a heck of a job with that we got a lot of fondness for, obviously. We got a lot of respect for Grubbs and what he's been doing.
Gino and Kirk are both guys who have kind of come into their own later in their careers. And as we
said Gino and Kirk?
Yeah.
A little different.
But they both have reached new levels later on, at an age that most guys don't necessarily. And I wonder if you see Tom and you see Aaron, you see that people are able to survive in that position longer and longer. Do you change the way you think about it organizationally and maybe look at guys who are an older age to evaluate them and think there's more room to grow because his career's not necessarily going to be over at 35?
No, you're Josh, you're so right when you're talking about that perspective. I thought you meant at the time that they both started playing really well. Gino went through a rough patch there for a while and bounced around, was a backup, and really benefited from being behind whoever he's behind, whether it was LA, whether it was New York, both versions of New York, or now getting an opportunity to go be behind Russ in Seattle and then taking over for him. It's definitely shown to improve that the more time you have at that position, the better you can be. And it's no different in the vision that we have with Kurt. When Kurt had a chance to sit around really just Robert, and then once he took over, I don't think he's ever let go of the reins and been able to just progress throughout the process of playing. But, a little different with the individual techniques the individual path of Gino and Kirk, but definitely the comparisons of people being able to play longer at the quarterback position because of how we protect the position and the fact that it is an above the neck position 100% of the way for a very long time. Now, we just happen to have some people with some very great athletic traits that can go do it as a young age, but these guys that are pocket passers, Joe Flacco's out there just balling. So, like, I don't know how old Joe Flacco. He's got to be my age. So, and he's doing phenomenal and had been, and for a long time. So, like, the position definitely got a little bit longer shelf life.
Do you get Kirk's voice memos? Are you on the voice memo list?
Kurt will just send me a text or he'll just call me.
Okay, you get the voice memo.
No voice memos. I can't take the voice memo. I couldn't do the voice memos with Kirk. He just calls me, shoots me a text, whatever the case may be, whatever he needs, and or I'll pop by his meeting rooms and things of that nature, and we'll kind of just communicate. I'm kind of an in-person guy. I got my door open all the time. These guys can tell you. I can't do that stuff.
How much does Charlie Warner help what you guys are trying to do offensively?
He should be offended that I didn't call him the sixth offensive lineman, because Charlie is certainly definitely the juice and the energy and a lot of the emotional push behind our run game. And he just has such a pride in it. And the one thing I had to call my buddy Kyle Shanahan about, I was like, I tell you what, man, these dudes that we get from San Fran know how to practice. And I just messed up because he told me not to tell anybody. But he has definitely brought that to our team. He's brought an edge. He's brought an energy. He's brought a bunch of different stuff to us that we love on game day and we love within the building every single day, and what Charlie is.
Aside from the edge and energy, I mean, he's a guy who can take a chip block and then get to the next level. I mean, what he's doing when you're watching the film back, are you just more and more impressed every Sunday?
To watch that play, you probably are just talking about, when he comes across and is able to, have a combination with a lineman and then go to the next level and to be able to sticky to get on to the next level guy and provide those kind of holes for Tyler or Bijan is absolutely outstanding. So, like, that's the energy and the edge you talk about, though, because none of that stuff requires a bunch of talent. That just requires a bunch of effort.
Atlanta gets the Super Bowl in 2028. Arthur Blank said he talked to you about how hopes you're in that one, but also maybe you're in another one before that. Just what does it mean to have the Super Bowl coming back to the city? And does it put a lot of pressure on you, though, trying to get into that one?
Whatever Arthur said, I agree with.
Hey, Coach, can you speak about Larry Frazier and his impact on the NFL in general, and specifically on you as a coach?
Excuse me. Oh, okay. I was say Larry Frazier. We talking about the boxer? Yeah, I was thinking. I was in the mix. I was definitely in the mix there, like Joe Frazier or no, but Leslie Frazier. Leslie Frazier. I was fortunate enough to be able to coach in a very similar system that we both kind of grew up in, and I don't want to say grew up in, that we both had a part to be of at different parts of time of our lives. So we talking about the Tampa 2 system and being around that kind of Tony Dungy type vibe. And then we were able to separate, and I watched him grow up in the kind of the Jimmy Jones world Jimmy Jones world of the Philadelphia Eagles, greatest coordinator, moved to Buffalo, be able to have a bunch of success in his own, and then like to watch him from afar as a man, character, the leader, the coach, the confidant. I had a lot of respect for him. I had a chance to interview him in Minnesota to be his defensive coordinator. Right at the time I went to D.C. Didn't go out there with him, but got so much respect for him and everything that he's been able to do in his accomplished career.
Yeah, Coach. What's it been like the offensive coordinator and quarterback relationship so important to a team? And what's it been like watching them two kind of develop here through the off season, first part of the season here?
It's been great for me just having the front row seat of watching Zach develop into what he's doing and having really a chance to go implement how he believes and how he thinks. And also really when you get put in those positions, it's really to be able to teach your coaches and to be able to show your coaches how you think. And I think those combination of those things are all a part of about being a leader. And then also having a chance to be a young coach and having a bunch of ideas, but being able to listen to other people within that same framework to be able to go implement some of the things that we can all do together. So I really love the maturation of, say, Zach Robinson from a play caller standpoint. I hate to say as a coach because he's been doing it such a while, and doing such a great job, but as a play caller, because obviously it's his first year, but to really watch him to now mesh with Kurt, and for those guys to be able to go through the little small differences that they've had within the systems that they've been in, and to work through the frameworks of all the things that you got to work with from the offensive standpoint with the cadence and lining up and different ideas and thoughts has really gone well for us. And you really see us, like I keep mentioning, this growth mindset every single week to get better. And that is fun to be around.
So you are watching Georgia and Texas this Saturday?
No doubt. I will be watching that one.
Okay.
Bijan, Zoe.
Yeah.
We got some guys in the building. I mean, Georgia, just in general. But, we got some ties, man. Sarkisian, Kyle Flood. Got a bunch of guys out there in Texas. So I can watch it with a neutral view and just enjoy the game.
Anything else? All right, thanks, y'all.
Have a good one, guys.
So we will see how the Falcons fare, but we have to get some to the NFL news because there's been so much. I'm sure you guys covered Super Bowl in 2028. Going to be here in the ATL. Love to see that. And the same day, Davante Adams was shipped to the Jets to reunite.
The Raiders are at their BS again.
I don't think anyone was surprised that Davante Adams ended up in New York.
No.
I did love that on the Pat McAfee show. Aaron kind of did the side eye, and then Davante slid in. I loved that. I loved it. I was obsessed with it.
I do love that the time between the announcement between the trade and Davante Adams is in the Jets building was 20 minutes.
And he also already had cleats ready to go.
Yeah.
You knew this was happening. It was just a matter of how was it going to happen. I don't like the narrative of they're contenders now, because they're not.
No.
But I do think Aaron Rodgers just got his favorite weapon back. I also loved the memes that is it would be Rodgers and Davante, and it was Garrett Wilson on the side. I loved it. I loved those memes. Those were good. Another big news is Nick Chubb going to return to the field. He was
Finally.
full go at practice. He looked really good. He had that gruesome leg injury last year. He had a really good article in the Players Tribune where basically said the Rocks aren't going to move themselves. It's time to move it. And quite frankly, I just feel really sad for players like him and Myles Garrett.
Because that one, a gruesome injury. If you have not seen it, do not look it up. The pictures and the video are not something I ever want to see. And into not his first injury like that. The dude has been battered his entire professional career.
And now he has to return and play for the Browns, who have some of the worst quarterback play in the league. It's not great. I feel like the organization can't get it right. And then you have players that are really good, like Myles Garrett and Nick Chubb, who just want to win, and you're putting them in situations where they can't. So my heart goes out to them. We have to talk about the Steelers, because we talked about this in preseason a lot, about Russell Wilson versus Justin Fields. And there's been a lot of feelings towards this week because Russell Wilson is getting first team reps over Justin Fields, even though Justin Fields, I have to sneeze, so excuse me if I look some type of way. He is someone that, they're going to give him first team reps, and Justin Fields has been helping them win and being consistent. But Mike Tomlin basically had the sentiment of just because you're good does not mean you're great. I have a hard time with that. Do you? Because I don't think Russell Wilson is great anymore.
Steelers. Good, not great is their entire thing.
That's fair.
Come on now.
Do we think this is going to go well?
No.
Do we think we see Justin Fields again?
Yes.
I think so, yes. I think we both kind of had that same sentiment during the preseason. Any other NFL news? Oh, should we talk about Jerry Jones popping off on the radio show? Did you see this?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
To be blunt.
So obviously the Cowboys are struggling, to say the least. And Jerry Jones always does radio on Monday mornings. And this time the radio hosts were being very politically correct, but asking very hard questions. And I think he got a little in his feels about it, and now he's getting a lot of backlash because he kind of came after the media, which Jerry Jones is known for being one of the GMs that's for the media. He's kind of bad. There's no such thing as bad publicity. So he was getting some backlash for how he kind of went about that and said it. You can find the comments on Twitter if you want to hear them. But I just thought that was interesting, and if you want to point the finger at anyone, point the finger at the players and the coaches, and Jerry Jones probably should have some accountability with all of that as well.
He is the GM.
So a couple minutes left. Let's go to Zachary Reese-Shea. Are you buying in.
Yes.
I am too.
I think that the part of it is, he doesn't have the hype that a number one overall pick usually has, but he is showing the skills that are making you go, oh, yeah, okay. This is why he was the number one overall pick.
In the games I've seen, he's been passing the ball really well, moving really, really well along with the team. He's had some really nice jumper threes.
He's really been facilitating that Hawks offense in a way that I think the Hawks were looking forward to. That's the role that they wanted him in when they drafted him.
Yeah, they definitely, I feel like there's a little bit of a revival. Now, I want to be hesitant with saying that a little bit because it is preseason.
It is preseason.
And it is early. I do think he'll go through some growing pains, but
as every rookie does.
Yeah, I do think you really have to like what you're seeing from Zach. Okay, hockey. I'll give you some time for your Kraken.
Oh, can this team be consistent for 2 minutes?
I mean, early in the season,
but my God.
Yeah. Bruins also, I mean, the Panthers own them. It's early in the season, but the Panthers own them. Although I do believe they play the Avalanche tonight, and there was news that my favorite player, who's Trent Frederick, he will be on a line tonight with Charlie Coyle and Brad Marchand, and no notes. Love that line. So we'll have to see how they fare. All right, Ellie, what's on your mind tonight?
Baseball.
Let's talk about
it. Tonight is Game 3 of the NLCS between the Dodgers and Mets up in New York. In Game 2, Mark Vientos and Francisco Lindor carried the Mets again. That's just been the story of the entire playoffs. It's been those two for the Mets.
Yeah. Yankees owning the Guardians, which, as someone who used to work in the Cleveland market, I hate to see. I was hoping the Guardians could stay a little hot, but they seem to leave a lot of runs stranded. Don't love to see it, but now they'll go to Cleveland, so we'll see what happens. But
we'll see.
Not great. What's on my mind tonight is not like there's nowhere we can go with this, but I think this is like why I'm thinking about it is like, are the Dream going to hire a head coach? Who are they going to go get? Who are they going to go get?
Screw it. Get Candace Parker in the coach's box. I don't care.
I mean, that would be a massive get. Can you imagine? Who knows if she wants to coach though?
Just get somebody.
You want to give us an update on the Liberty and Lynx?
Game 3 tonight in Minnesota. Series tied 1-1 after a pair of absolute bangers of games.
Yeah.
This has been a wild series. I love this.
Wild. It's been intense too, which you just love to see. But we'll have to see how Game 3 pans out. Coming up the rest of the week for you, we will have high school football coming up on Friday. We are actually headed to Austin tomorrow to get boots down in Austin to preview Georgia, Texas. We have a nice little preview on Bijan Robinson, his time in Texas, and also a little dabble of how he got into acting. So we'll have that for you on Friday, along with a lot of previews of Georgia, Texas. I won't see you the rest of the week. I would like your prediction.
I gotta go with Texas here, man. I'm sorry. They're a buzzsaw at this point. People keep saying, "Oh, there hasn't been a really a team in college football that's like separated themselves." Mm-hmm. It's Longhorns.
Yeah.
At this point, it is the Longhorns to lose.
I think so too. I would not be surprised if Georgia upsets, but I think it's going to be a lot harder than they think it is.
Yes.
All right, we'll wrap up this edition of Sports Tonight. Join us throughout the week for all your sports headlines. We'll have the latest. For Ellie Parker, I'm Bailey Burmaster. Have a great night.